Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Yeah, so 2018, I actually, for the first time, cracked the top 500 in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. You know, it was in the low 400s, but I'm still going to take that as a success. So that's when it changed again. I realized if I could not only earn the respect of the promotion that trained me, then come to Florida and earn the respect of those gentlemen who I had mentioned, who wanted to push me to pursue this, and then earn national and international respect, like being published in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, I realized there was no reason to stop there. And now my goal is to become a full-time signed professional wrestler. Whether it's WWE, whether it's AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, AAA Mexico, you name it, I have no qualms about picking up and going. I've got an amazing support system in my family, and they have my back 100%. If I say it's time for me to go, they know it's time for us to go. Whether they stay here because my wife has an amazing career, or whether they all jump ship with me, that's the goal, and that's going to happen.
You mentioned some names like Al Perez, Bob Cook, Steve Kern.
Yes.
Do you keep in touch with all of them?
Yes.
And Steve is still well, he's not, I don't know how to explain it, but he still has strong ties with WWE.
Yes, he does.
And everything. So is he still giving you advice, and what's that been like for you?
Anytime that I want Steve to critique a match, he sits down with me and he'll go over it. I talk to Bob Cook all the time. Bob's a great supporter of mine and a great friend. Bob actually inducted me into the Cauliflower Alley Club. It was one of the most heartwarming things that I think could ever have occurred in my life. Brian Blair as well. I call and talk to Brian all the time. He's been one of the biggest supports of my career in the last couple of years. I couldn't do this without those guys.
What's so interesting about Steve is he had so many characters when you look back at his career, different characters that he was able to succeed in doing. It's just amazing when you look at his career and all. Always one of my CWF favorites.
Yes.
But then even watching him going to WWE and doing the different gimmicks he did there and all, it was really incredible. The Storm, want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know you mentioned Iowa. So originally you're from Iowa,
yes.
Grew up in Iowa. Did you play sports when you were younger?
I was a high school football standout, offensive lineman. I got a college scholarship to Oskaloosa, Iowa to play for William Penn University.
Did you have NFL dreams?
You know, I did, until I realized, not that good. You know, when you're in high school and you're that standout offensive lineman, look, I'm 6 foot tall. Back then I was 6 foot 315. I was too big. I realized at 6 foot 300 pounds, you're not the standout anymore. And when it was the right time, I took my step back and realized that football was for somebody else. But then I found wrestling.
Did you have a favorite football team?
Yes, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow, even back then?
Yeah,
even
when in high school I was from St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay, all right.
That was my hometown team
right.
through high school.
Gotcha, all right. So, and then what was the high school that
Kim's
you went
High
to?
School.
Okay, so that was down here. So you were a big Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan back in the day?
Yes, back in the creamsicle orange.
Were they good back then?
No, not at all. Not at all. We Tampa Bay always sucked. And you have to be a true fan to still represent the Buccaneers through all these losing seasons. And I still do it to this day.
Was it hard giving up football?
No. No, I realized that was no longer my passion. It was no longer my dream. First it was football. Then it became fitness. Then it became professional wrestling.
And that will lead me to that next question, which is then, how does somebody go from that world into the pro wrestling world? Was it being in the Tampa St. Pete area?
No, because I started wrestling in Iowa. Like I said, it was football, then it became fitness. I've been a wrestling fan since I could walk. I remember watching it with my grandfather in their living room. I think one of the very first matches I can vividly remember was a Coco Beware match.
The Birdman!
The Birdman. You know, guys like Coco, guys like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, the Ultimate Warrior. Those were the athletes that stood out to me, the bright colors. They've influenced me. You'll notice that all of my gear is different colors. It's all bright colors, it's all vibrant. That's what drew me to wrestling, so that's what I want to give back to wrestling. But I was always a fan, so even when I was done with football, I always had wrestling. I had the WWE Network, I had Monday Night Raw, I had Tuesday Night SmackDown. I was covered. And then I had a friend of mine who influenced me to come to his wrestling school. And we went back and forth. I was done with being an athlete, and I was content with that until I took my first bump and my first few rolls, and I built my first ring, and I learned the value of respect in professional wrestling. And from that moment, I was hooked. I trained for 6 months, and then I had my first match, and then I went on tour with that company every single month. And that was my original goal, was just to be able to do that.
Is the company still around?
The company is still around. Central Empire Wrestling in Oskaloosa, Iowa. I just wrapped up about a 1.5-year run with them where I was going up there every couple months. I just lost their championship. I held it for almost a full calendar year.
If I'm not mistaken, Seth Rollins is from Iowa?
Yes, Seth Rollins is from Iowa. About a couple hours away.
That's what I was going to say, because I guess he has his own training center up in Iowa now too that he's doing and all. I didn't know if you had any connection with that or anything.
No, but I do have some colleagues and some friends who have come out of that school that are super talented. They've got a great program going on up there. I'm very proud of all of those guys.
When you think of Iowa, you think of amateur wrestling. At least I do, because Iowa State, but not so much of the pro wrestling. But even before Seth did his thing, there's been pro wrestling in Iowa.
And honestly, pro wrestling in Iowa is bigger right now than it's ever been. You've got the Black and Brave Academy. You've got Sammy Callahan's promotion runs in Iowa all the time, between Iowa, Ohio, Illinois. The Midwest right now is booming with professional wrestling. Like I said, I was able to spend a full calendar year going back and forth up there with different promotions, and it was an amazing run. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to go back because Iowa will always be a second home to me.
That's the Storm. Full Throttle Pro Wrestling. Social media for you, for your fans.
Yes, hit me up at social media, Instagram, Twitter, @_the Storm. I can't wait to talk to every single one of you.